I had the opportunity to testify yesterday before the Rules Committee about how this process has been highly partisan, and that I would have welcomed an opportunity to work on the Electoral Count Act reforms in a bipartisan way, just like the Senate did. There was one quote from my friend, Ranking Member Tom Cole, that I want to share. As he said, "Given all the majority's righteous and high-minded talk over the last 2 years about how democracy itself is in peril, don't you think we would be better served to have operated through regular order with real member buy-in on a topic that is as important to the American people as this one?" That's how the Senate handled this task, in a bipartisan manner driven toward finding consensus. Why shouldn't the House operate in the same way? Instead, here in the House, every outreach made by Republicans to work on this issue was rebuffed. This bill tramples on state sovereignty. While the Constitution gives states authority to make and interpret their own state laws, this bill would grant Congress unprecedented authority to determine what state law is. Second, there's a provision of this bill that gives candidates the ability to broadly define catastrophic events, which could include major natural disasters or acts of terrorism, and then use that event to extend balloting after the polls close for up to 5 days. Think about it. A candidate could pull a Pelosi and request a change in the rules, supposedly because of the COVID-19 pandemic, despite the fact that the majority of the country has moved on, including President Biden, who declared the pandemic is over, just to extend voting for 5 more days for their political benefit. Well, remember, just last year, when President Biden's FBI labeled concerned parents attending their children's school PTA meetings domestic terrorists. With many polling locations at schools, a candidate could try to claim that parents' meeting is a catastrophic event. We also can't forget that many Democrats have claimed that Republican-led states with newly enacted election integrity laws, like Florida, are suppressing voters. Could a candidate then try to claim voter suppression because they don't like their state's laws, and then request polls stay open once they see election results that aren't going their way? Third, this bill would create a new private right of action for all presidential candidates or their electors and significantly expand the scope of the right to tabulate. This creates a big question as to how and if Congress has the authority to require candidates to go to federal court to force them to follow state law. I mean, I can just picture the field day election lawyers like sanctioned Democrat Mark Elias would have with these provisions, all while creating mass confusion for voters who will question if their vote was even counted. Voters don't need Congress to come in and overcomplicate the ECA process that has worked for the past 135 years. As a reminder, we came back the night of January 6th after the tragic events that we all witnessed here in this Capitol, and we certified Joe Biden as president and Kamala Harris as vice president. What voters want is to show up on Election Day, easily cast their ballot, know that their ballot is counted in accordance with the law, and for election results to come in later that night. But this bill doesn't do that. Instead, it could very well do the opposite. This bill does nothing to prevent another mob from attacking the Capitol. Neither Mike Pence doing what every vice president in the history has done, nor lawful constitutional objections being filed caused a mob to attack. And clarifying those responsibilities won't prevent another mob. That's why this bill won't even see the light of day over in the Senate, and why we should have used the bipartisan Senate version as a starting point. Maybe then we could actually enact some necessary updates to improve and clarify the certification process and focus on the big unanswered problem, the security of the Capitol. Bad actors, by definition, don't follow the law, so any changes made to the Electoral Count Act aren't a silver bullet. As I've been saying this entire Congress, we need to be focused on why the Capitol was left so unprotected on that day in January. Why was a mob able to breach one of the most significant buildings on our planet? Again, I invite all of my Democrat colleagues to work with me to improve the security of this building and the people it holds. That's how we prevent another attack. I urge my colleagues to oppose this bill because it's both bad process and bad policy. The American people deserve better. They deserve to have full confidence in the election process and the outcomes. I yield back.